Hello and welcome. Is seeing believing, as it says in a film? Is seeing believing, as it says in a film title? Um, in the film Avatar, which I very much liked when it came out, and I think I even had it on DVD at one point. The blue aliens in the film connect. They when Jake, the disabled Marine, tries to get accepted by the Avatars, and he falls in love with one of them. He wants to learn about their culture and everything, and the Avatar that he falls in love with teaches him things about their culture. One of them is when they say, "I see you," with those eyes. They mean with this, with "I see you," so that their sense of seeing is not from a physical sight, but from how they see people, or in their mind. When we talk about the mind's eye, and they when they have a sacred tree, and you might perhaps not in the same sort of way, obviously, but in the film, when they want to connect with, I think it's the Great Mother, or their ancestors, they literally, because if you've watched the film, they have like long braided hair pieces, which go down from their head, and they can use that. They can connect either to the horse-type creature that they're riding with, and connect with that, or they can connect with other living beings that way. And I guess you might say it's like downloading, because it downloads information in from them to the other sentient beings around them, or it can be used to download, or from the ancestors. This tree that allows them to download all this information and allows them to make that connection. And not in the same sort of way, but in the first book of the Bible, Genesis, as anyone will know, whether you're a Christian or not, is that Adam and Eve stopped becoming childlike. To begin with, they have a very sort of childlike existence. They know nothing of good and evil, and they know nothing of any other knowledge. And they have that that perception. And by the way, the Bible is not against the concept, so it's not anti-learning. But when eat of the tree of good and evil and of knowledge, and they both eat of the fruit, their perception of the world changes. That I would call that almost like a download, so that all that information is downloaded into them by eating the fruit, and no longer can they see the world as innocent childlike beings. They can see the world in a different way. They know of good and evil, and they know all sorts of knowledge is downloaded into them. One of the interesting things I find at this point is how one of the angels, or depending on what your take on things are, one of them says now they can see just like us. They've gained consciousness. They've gained what, in the same way that when I read a book, and despite the fact that I do have dyslexia, I have over a period of time I've had an enjoyment of reading. I still make mistakes, and not somehow miraculously cured of my dyslexia. I'm still, as I am. But I enjoy reading books, but books give us knowledge, and that knowledge makes us think, whether it be the good book or whether it is any number of novels that I like, or different, books on history or whatever. And the minute way you look at the world totally differently, give you perhaps your own existence in a very different way. And is seeing, believing, I have, a huge amount of the films that I watch on YouTube are religious. They're conspiracy theory. They're things with aliens. I do watch other things as well. It's a mixture, really. Things on trains and model making, and it's not just those sorts of things. But I'd say that a huge chunk of what I watch is, um, what people would consider to be conspiracy, or and when I watch a lot of things which come from things which have come from people's CCTV cameras and so on, where they capture um, where they capture goings on, either things in the sky which they cannot explain. They're capturing strange creatures which have no explanation for them. Science doesn't know what they are, or it's things to do with ghosts. Now, the skeptic will always say, this is a hoax, this is all made up. And we'll always try and find one that is totally the opposite to what we believe. To what a believer thinks. So that therefore a believer will look at those sorts of things and will think, well, actually this is real, this is proof of that there is a life beyond this world, that there are aliens out in space, whatever aliens are, or that there are a lot of mysteries to our world that we don't know of. And there are parts of our own history that have not been told about, and mainstream archaeology is trying to deny such things. I find it quite interesting, what is it that takes you from having one set of beliefs to another set of beliefs? Is it just that you accept a new truth to be the truth? Or, did you read a certain book which made you think in a different way? There is a good example of this. There is a book about an atheist who goes on a journey to show that it's all just nonsense. And he fails, and he ends up this was somebody who was a hard and fast atheist, And is it just the fact that he does research and finds out, for himself, what the truth is called the, the, the Case for Christ, or something like that, if you want to look it up. It's been out for quite a while. I think to myself, do we all share the same reality? My reality could be completely different to yours. we can all stare at the same thing, but come away with a totally different interpretation of that thing. You can have two people looking at a film of a spacecraft, UFO, whatever you want to call it, and the believer, this is proof of aliens. The non-believer will think, well, that's just dust on the screen. It's some creature or some moth. It's a light effect. It's some form of cloud or something like that. And is it just that that people just want to see what they want to see, or is it something much more than that? That we become hardwired into thinking in one particular way. And that hardwired way of thinking stays with us, It doesn't always have to be that way. And because I do have some spiritual beliefs, it's not going to affect me in the way in which somebody who is an atheist or an agnostic is going to read that book and think, yes, this is the ultimate proof that for me, when I truth. Now, could somebody who's agnostic or atheist read the same book, and because of their belief in science and their belief in human philosophy, could they come away and sort of, they're either going to end up becoming a believer, or they're going to end up sticking into what has been hardwired into them to believe that science is all truth, human philosophy gives us all the answers. And is that down to just the fact that we read certain things and that changes our way of thinking and it affects our brains? Or is it that we have then created our own reality? This may sound an odd thing to say, but to use the Adam and Eve, no, they didn't see the world in a very different way. They then eat it and they see the world. It changes how we perceive our own existence. When I was at school and my knowledge back then wasn't what it was now, and therefore I would have looked at the world a lot differently to how I look at it now. And as we go on through life, we change our views all the time, and we see the world in different ways. You take, for example, the media. Uses newspapers, television. I can no longer, although this is technically speaking a television behind me, and they have another one in my living room. Television now since 2018. In fact, last time I watched any real television was May 2018. So since then, I've not seen any television at all. I have seen the odd thing. I've been to people's homes, and start of the year, I appeared on my artwork appeared on the BBC, and of course I watched that for the catch-up service because I wanted to, because it's quite a big moment. That the media can control people. It can affect how people think and feel about things. It has that sense of control. Newspapers and what you hear on the radio or what you see on the television can control people. And I'm kind of pleased that I can no longer see the television. A lot of it's not really worth watching in the first instance, and is probably used to try and dumb people down because it's not as good as what it should be, and it's all about getting people to think in certain ways. So it can make you think that the Prime Minister of the country is a wonderful person. You can think that he did a wonderful job during the lockdown, and you can think that he's trying to save the NHS. All of these things are part of trying to get people to think in one particular way. And although this isn't a political video, people seeing things, perceiving the world, how people want them to see that world. Control. The word control is very important. That social networking sites like this, Facebook, don't know really that much about Instagram. Are being censored is because of the fact that because people can put out there things that perhaps the powers that be don't really agree with. A way of getting the truth out. But that truth is, whether it's a political truth, whether it's a religious truth, whether it's something to do with ancient history, that's what is happening. I don't believe that fake news exists. I don't believe that there is such a thing. This phrase has been coined by the media moguls because they know that people are going elsewhere to find the truth, and their eyes are being opened and waiting. And maybe that's part of the process I've seen. It's bleeding. Because when you see the real truth, then you don't, you think in a different way, and your eyes become open to that new reality. Some people talk about enlightenment. That enlightenment is about a new reality and creating a new reality and seeing the world. And the ancient Egyptians, one of their ancient symbols was the Eye of Horus. And I'm sure that many much better films out there on this subject matter. I know that there are people who've got technology that I don't have at their disposal. But one of the interesting things about the Eye of Horus is that the center of your brain and is the same shape as the Eye of Horus. Did they know that that's where the third eye is supposed to be? And an interesting one to note is if you get a penny or any coin and stick it in the center of your forehead, it has to be in the right place or else it won't stick. If you put it away from that center part, then it won't stick. People talk about the third eye being that place up there, which is roughly speaking is where your pineal gland is. It is the real thing, scans of brains will show you that it does exist. People who get into spirituality will see that pineal gland is opened up. It's a bit like training in a way. What your spiritual beliefs are, for those who have got spiritual beliefs. It's the same sort of thing as the learning an artistic technique. That is a different way of seeing. It's not seen with the eyes, it's seen with those people who have developed that skill. They see the world differently to everybody else. Now, of course, an atheist will say, well, that's all just rubbish. There's no such thing as an afterlife. There's no such thing as a divine presence in the universe. That everything is just random. Philosophy, is absolute truth. And for them, that is their reality. And that's the reality I think they've created. It's not just, I could read a book of science and it won't affect me in the same way as how it will affect them. Because that is the reality that they've created in their heads. My reality, of course, is from the spirit, and that I see the world in a spiritual dimension. And I view things from that point of view. And perhaps that's where, people see things in totally different ways. Doesn't mean that one particular way of thinking is right and the other one is wrong. For me, obviously, my truth is my truth and their truth is their truth. And perhaps we have created our own realities. It's not just that we share the same reality, but perhaps we're stuck in our own reality. If I had gone off onto a different path, perhaps my way of thinking would have been different. and my way of looking at the world would have been different. And maybe that's what happens. It's not just that, we could share the same books, read the same books, but our own reality is what we have created, I think. And although we can share the same sort of experiences, difference between me and somebody who's an atheist is the fact that an atheist will think in a different way to how I think. And that's what I think is a difference. Alcohol has always been readily available throughout history. We now have television to try and dumb people down. Alcohol, I think, has always been used in the same sort of way. Not nothing against I do drink, but the saying being punch drunk, I think, has great meaning. The reason why in a lot of religious communities they have a ban on drinking or sort of forbiddenness about it is because if you're drunk, then how can you properly worship? And this is the whole thing. And that I'm drinking coffee keeps me sober. But if I was drunk right now, I wouldn't be able to do something like this. I wouldn't be able to create art. Not in the same sort of way, anyway. Perhaps it wouldn't be so good. And perhaps this is the reason why religious communities there, although that that there is certainly a thing about not drinking because you can't worship because your concentration is gone. You cannot develop your skills, and perhaps whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Sikh or whatever, your connection to the divine cannot really happen until you perhaps a way of cutting people, of closing down their heads, perhaps doesn't work so well. Now, whether you believe in this or not is entirely up to you, but I believe that perhaps this is the reason, because that centre there has been clouded or is not working so well. And going back into the 19th century, you had the teetotal movement, which was about getting people to be teetotal. still sort of going today, the movement. The word alcohol is a Muslim word, and the word spirits. We all make jokes about spirits and about, spirits. We talk about spirits beyond this realm, and talk about drinking spirits. But maybe people don't have so much of that religious experience that they once had, not just because of human philosophy, not just because of science, not just because we've got television trying to dumb people down, but because of drinking. I do think that the word spirit, people think about, bad spirits and how bad spirits get into us when we drink and brings out the bad sides in us. But maybe that sort of spirit can stop us from having a divine connection or a divine revelation or something. That when that is closed off, we don't see in the same way as we used to. That centuries ago people would have a lot more religious experiences than what they do now. And although experiences, they're not as common as what they once were to a lot of people. It's funny thing about drinking is that of all the drugs that there are, perhaps give you some sort of trip or some sort of hallucinate, see things, and perhaps have sort of what some people would consider to be almost a spiritual or religious experience. Drinking doesn't do that. It cuts off everything. You think about people who, like myself, who might be shy or autistic, who might not be, who don't like social occasions, might start drinking in order to be, fit in with everybody and to be part of the group and everything. But actually what drinking does is it's an antidepressant. So we know, and is it not just the fact that it's an antidepressant, but also is it sort of stopping people from having experiences that perhaps they might not have had if they didn't start drinking at an early age. And perhaps that changes people's perception of reality. If now, of course, going back into medieval times, it was considered okay to give kids supplies were dirty. They didn't have the technology to make clean water, so it's considered safer for everybody to drink alcohol. But even today, it's one of the most cheapest things. Well, obviously, there's much more expensive forms of alcohol, but the cheapest end of alcohol is very cheap. And perhaps the reason why it's been made so cheap, like these 2-for-1 deals, and the fact that you can go in and pick up drink very cheaply in those sort of corner shops, not the really expensive high end, but the lower end. And maybe there's a reason behind that. Maybe there's the fact that people don't want us to have, we're better controlled as human beings if we don't have an unconscious awakening, and as long as we can be controlled by the powers that be, then we will be. And that's, for me, that's how I perceive things. So whether it's trying to censor social platforms, whether it's trying to control what people read and how people think, or whether it's trying to we will only change I think as a species when we start to first of all wake up to the system and see the system for what it is. See, it's not there to protect us. It certainly hasn't been there to protect us. But also, when more and more people try and find ways of having a spiritual awakening, whatever that spiritual awakening is, and and realise that there is more, in my way of thinking, there's more to this world than what meets the eye. That awaken people is a good thing. And that's all that I have to say on this subject matter. Thank you. Goodbye.